Hello, my name is Anita Talaja from University of Split, Faculty of Economics, Business and Tourism, and I will be presenting an article, The Analysis of Construction Industry in Croatia, the Importance of Porter's 5 Forces in Achieving Above Average Performance. In this paper, we focus on Porter's 5 Forces of Competition Framework and try to analyze construction industry in Croatia through 5 forces in order to see how these forces are related to performance of companies from this industry. Porter's 5 forces model is widely used for classifying and analyzing the factors that determine the intensity of competition and levels of competition in different industries, and of course it was developed from Michael Porter of Harvard Business School. This framework sees the profitability of an industry as determined by 5 sources of competition. Basically, if we have weaker competitive forces, then companies can have more opportunities to achieve superior performance. This view of strategy and competitive advantage is in contrast to resource-based view that sees competitive advantage as direct effect of internal factors like resources and capabilities. So the aim of this research here is to analyze the importance of competitive forces framework for profitability in the construction industry. These 5 competitive forces establish the relative competitive position of the firm within the industry. They also define industry attractiveness and influence the firm's strategic behavior and its choice of a firm's competitive strategy. When we talk about the competitive forces, in reality we are talking about industry competitors, potential entrants, suppliers, substitutes, and buyers. The average profitability of industry is determined by the combined strength of these 5 forces, or we say that they define industry structure. But even though the industrial organizational framework assumed that industry structure is stable and difficult to change, Porter assumes that industry structure is not entirely exogenous and stable. Now we will see the hypotheses that are developed in this paper. So the first one says that the level of competition within the construction industry is negatively associated with companies' performance. This is quite logical. It is more difficult to establish above average performance level if there are a lot of companies with whom you have to compete with. For most industries, the major determinant of the overall state of competition and the general level of profitability is competition among the firms within the industry. In some industries, these firms compete aggressively, sometimes to the extent that prices are pushed below the level of costs and industry-wide losses are incurred, while in other industries, price competition is muted, rivalry focuses on advertising, innovation, and other non-price dimensions. There are a lot of elements that can influence the impact of this force, like exit barriers, because if it's more difficult to exit, companies will struggle more to stay on that market. Product differentiation, because differentiation shields a company from competitors Buyers are more keen to be loyal to differentiated products, diversity of competitors, cost conditions. So there are a lot of aspects that describe this force. The second hypothesis says that the power of substitutes within a construction industry is negatively associated with companies' performance. So here we are describing substitutes and their impact. When the price of a substitute product is significantly lower than product from the market, then buyers are more willing to buy substitute products. When the quality of substitutes is extremely high, then the threat from the substitutes is also high. Most of the time, substitutes appear suddenly when increased rivalry in their industry results in lower prices or better performance. Next, we propose that the threat of new entrants into the construction industry is negatively associated with companies' performance. New entrants are potential new competitors. If an industry earns a return on capital in excess of its cost of capital, it will basically act as a magnet to the firms outside the industry. If the entry of new firms is unrestricted, the rate of profit will fall toward its competitive level. There are a lot of elements that impact the threat of the new entrants, like capital requirements to be in this new market, economies of scale, absolute cost advantages, again, product differentiation, the threat of the retaliation of companies that are competing currently in the market, and so on and so on. Next one says that the level of buyer power within a construction industry is negatively associated with companies' performance. When there are only a handful of large buyers in the market, then they have high power and they can dictate the terms of sale. If companies offer similar products and similar conditions, so if a specific product is crucial to the buyer's offerings, the buyer may reach out to the other bidders to strengthen their position. This buyer power is quite similar to the power of suppliers that we have here in the next hypothesis, and it says that the level of bargaining power of suppliers within a construction industry is negatively associated with companies' performance. The bargaining power of suppliers is evident when they increase their prices or decrease the quality of their products and services. Consumers tend to be price sensitive when purchasing products that are undifferentiated, costly relative to their income, and where quality is not a critical factor for them. And one of the most important strategic choices of a company is related to strengthening its position in the selection of its suppliers. Now we can proceed to the empirical analysis. The questionnaire was sent by email to managers from construction companies operating in Croatia in construction industry. One questionnaire per company was collected. Out of 287 questionnaires sent, we managed to collect 54 of them, which is 19% response rate. Here, the operationalization of each construct is presented in order to see how each element impacts performance of a company. All elements were evaluated on 1 to 5 scale. And now we can see the results of hypothesis testing. Here, Table 1 presents correlations between power of competitors and companies' performance. We can see that there is no statistically significant correlation here, and actually this is the only hypothesis that was completely rejected. Not only that we don't have statistically significant correlation, we also don't have negative relationship in each situation. The correlation coefficients are quite small, and all in all, we can say that here we do not see any relationship between investigated variables. Next is the correlation between power of substitutes and companies' performance. Here we have two statistically significant relationships, and also all relationships but one are in expected direction, so the power of substitutes is negatively associated with company's performance. Both statistically significant correlations are related to the same element of power of substitutes, and this is the availability of substitute products. So availability of substitute products is statistically significant in relation to sales revenue and in relation to company's profitability, and we can partially accept this hypothesis. Next, we analyze correlation coefficients between the power of new entrants and company's performance, and see that all relationships are in expected direction, and one of them is statistically significant. It is the relationship between low entry barriers for potential newcomers and sale revenue of companies within industry. So this hypothesis is also only partially. In this table, we see correlations between the power of buyers and companies' performance, and the three of them are statistically significant. It is the correlation between rate of changes in buyers' preferences and market share, then a correlation between difficulty of satisfying change buyer preferences and sales revenues, and at the end, the difficulty of satisfying change buyers' preferences and market share. Also, if we would adopt 1% significance level, we could say that the link between the rate of changes by preferences and profitability would also be significant, and this hypothesis is partly accepted. The last hypothesis says that the level of bargaining power of suppliers within construction industry is negatively associated with companies' performance. We see only one statistically significant relationship between suppliers' ability to raise the price of their products and market share of the observed company. But also, if we would accept 1% significance level, we could say that the relationship between suppliers' ability to reduce the quality of their products and all three performance indicators would be statistically significant. Based on all said, we can assume that this hypothesis can be partially accepted. In conclusion, just to repeat that this paper analyzes Croatian construction industry with the aim of gaining insight into the influence of porters' forces on companies' performance, and out of the 5 proposed hypotheses, 1 was rejected and the remaining 4 were partially accepted. Maybe this result can be viewed in context of the papers that confirm that firm-specific effects are more significant for performance than industry effects, and maybe we should really search for the sources of competitive advantage internally, as resource-based view says, and analyze resources and capabilities in detail to see the performance level derived from them. Thank you, and this is it.